This is going to be wild. Sidney Crosby put Team Canada on his back against Sweden. Well, now he has to clash with Team Tkachuk. The Americans, led by Matthew and Brady Tkachuk and head coach Mike Sullivan, have a plan for the Canadiens, specifically their power play and loaded, star-studded roster. One of the greatest hockey teams ever assembled on both sides. This has been dubbed one of the most important and exciting hockey games in a very long time. On both sides, there is so much energy fueling this matchup, and everybody is just anxious to get out there and see how things unfold. I have a ton of quotes for you guys today from both sides about players, coaches, what they have to say leading into this matchup, and then a little bit of a breakdown of the history between these two teams and what is at stake tonight. So let's jump right into it as we talk about USA versus Canada. But before I go any further, go ahead and hit that sub button below. Subscribe to the channel, Penguins Digest, and we'll keep you up to date on the latest Pittsburgh Penguins news, rumors, analysis, and anything else pertaining to the Pittsburgh Penguins. Right now, it's Sidney Crosby versus Mike Sullivan in a clash between the Canadiens and the Americans. One of the most exciting hockey games in recent memory, and I am so excited to be talking about this with you guys today. Before we get into the quotes, I have to tell you about the clinching scenarios and the implications of tonight's game on this tournament, the Four Nations Face-Off, that a lot of people acted like wasn't a real tournament. But now that these teams are going out there and these players are playing their hearts out, leaving it all out there and working their hardest to win these games, meaningful hockey games, during what would normally be the All-Star break, you guys can silence the noise and the criticism of this tournament. This tournament has been amazing, and it's bringing back best on best international hockey like we wanted all along. Clinching scenarios for US. They can clinch a spot in the finals with a regulation win against Canada. Anything less means they still need more points in their last game of round robin play against Sweden, and then a regulation win for Canada against the US on Saturday night would give them 5 points and assure them a matchup in the finals. Granted, they would not lose to Finland by 5 or more goals, which would be the only way they would miss out if they win in regulation. Sweden needs a regulation win against Team USA on Monday to get to 5 points, but also needs a bunch of other stuff to happen. And Finland needs a regulation win against Canada on Monday in order to get to 5 points, but also needs at least one of the US games to go to overtime, either Canada or Sweden. So those teams are hoping for a lot, whereas Canada and the US control their own destiny, something that they wanted and something that they've gotten. So this game tonight becomes that much more important because whoever wins, if it's in regulation, guarantees themselves a spot in the finals, which we expected to be Canada-USA all along. So for hockey fans' sake, I hope it is, and I hope this is just the first of two matchups between these two loaded rosters. So let's talk about what the other people said. You guys don't care what I have to say. You care what the players had to say and the coaches about this matchup because it is a big deal. And Mike Sullivan said, Penguins head coach and head coach of Team USA, there's a lot of pride. There's a lot of familiarity on both sides. These guys play with and against each other in the NHL all the time. An event like this, where it's best on best, I think it brings out the competitive spirit of both sides. The biggest difference is when you have the privilege to play in an event like this and represent your country, it has become something that's bigger than any individual. There's a responsibility to bring your best when you have the privilege to participate in these types of events. I would envision it being a very competitive hockey game. Mike Sullivan, I agree with you there. Let's hear what Jake Guentzel, former Penguin, had to say. USA forward, Saturday night in Canada, against Canada. I don't think it's any bigger. I don't think it gets much bigger than this for a hockey player of this level. The crowd's going to be intense. It's going to be hostile. It's going to be all of the above, and it's going to be a lot of fun. You guys know that the Canadian fans were booing the U.S. during their national anthem. This is bad blood at this point. These teams are playing to win. They're playing for a spot in the championship. Dylan Larkin had this to say. This one's a big one. The biggest of my career, he would go on to say. Just watching international games as a kid with my family, it's like a holiday. It's like the Super Bowl for us. To be able to be a part of this on Saturday night in Montreal, it's perfect. It's just great. And Brady Tkachuk echoed the same sentiment. I think it's going to be the biggest game that I've ever played in my career. Some of these players have never played in the playoffs in the NHL, never had experience in the Stanley Cup playoffs. So this is the biggest game they've ever played. I'm really looking forward to that, Brady said. There's a big build-up to it. USA versus Canada is bigger than just the guys on the ice. There are so many people, past, present, and down the road that it affects. And we've all been talking about this game especially. It's been a long couple days waiting until it happens, but it'll be exciting. And then we look on the alternative side of things with Canada, and Brad Marchand has been very outspoken about this matchup. This is something that he said. There's no bigger rivalry than Canada-USA in hockey. They're the games that everybody dreams about playing growing up. They're memories that will last a lifetime. We're all really looking forward to it. Can't come quick enough. And that is what Brad Marchand said. Then Noah Hannafin said, we're kind of the bad guys. It's a fun role to play. I know the environment is going to be probably the most intense I've ever been a part of. And this is a guy that's been in the Stanley Cup playoffs before. So it's these moments you dream of, and it's exciting to be a part of it. It's stuff that you'll take with you the rest of your life. That's Noah Hannafin, USA defenseman, saying that. International play is a big deal, ladies and gentlemen. People don't want to admit it, but it is huge. The bragging rights are beyond second to none in this game. Which country is the country of hockey? Canada and the US fighting to be the elite for so long. Mike Sullivan said, and this is more about strategy and how he's going to slow down the Canada power play. Obviously, it'll be a big challenge. It's hard to key in on any one aspect of the group. They have threats in all positions. I think we're going to have to make sure that from our standpoint, we got to make sure that we're there for one another. We've tried to instill a certain foundation of our penalty kill, both in zone and off the faceoffs, and the forecheck up the ice. Some of the critical aspects of killing that's important for success. We just have to make sure that foundationally we're on the same page and we're locked in. We're going to have to win faceoffs. We're going to have to win puck battles. We're going to have to make clears. And if we can make the entries difficult for them and potentially limit their in-zone time, that goes a long way to helping us have success. And we know, and Mike Sullivan knows, it starts on special teams. And stopping that power play unit for Canada, Reinhart, Crosby, McDavid, McKinnon, McCarr, who's a game time decision, it's going to be very difficult. No one ever said it was going to be easy. But clinching scenarios, we've already detailed, so we know how big this game is. If we look at the history of this rivalry, the most recent best on best, not international play, but best on best, where the actual best players from each side play, was the semifinals of the 2014 Olympic Winter Games, a narrow 1-0 win for Canada behind a shutout by Carey Price. Well, that's what makes this matchup that much more enticing for the U.S. because Canada's always had elite goaltending. Their goalie now is Jordan Binnington. Jordan Binnington is the starting goalie for Canada, and they already said they're rolling him back out for game number 2, and I'll show you that in just a second. But that is an advantage for the U.S. with possibly a back-to-back Vezina winner in Connor Hellebuyck in the cage. All-time record, Canada leads 14-4-1, 2-0 in overtime. All-time goals, Canada 70, the U.S. 29. Well, this is a much different team than the teams we've known between these teams that played each other over the years. This is the most talented U.S. team they have ever had, and I would be very confident in saying that. This is probably the best team the U.S. has ever put up against Canada. Canada opened the tournament with an absolute barn burner on Wednesday night, getting an overtime winner from Mitch Marner. Crosby, 3 assists, carried them to victory. Sid with 3 apples. He was phenomenal. 2 highlight reel assists, and then setting up the game winner, dropping it off to Mitch Marner, letting him do the rest. Possibly a future Penguin. You never know. Mitch Marner. But Canada got the win either way. Sweden didn't look as good today, but Erik Karlsson scored a goal. He sniped. I mean, Karlsson looked good. Rickard Rakell looked good. Former Penguin Mikael Granlund got the game-winning goal in overtime for the Finns. So able to really help this tournament move along where every team is still in contention. As we see right here, USA and Canada playing Saturday night. No one has been eliminated from the tournament yet. An ideal scenario for the NHL. And then back to the Americans' first game. They won against Finland, commanding victory against Finland 6-1. They started off really slow, but as the game progressed, they got better and better, and they ended up putting an exclamation point on that win. Brady and Matthew Tkachuk each scoring 2 goals and carrying the U.S. to victory, and Hellebuyck played outstanding after an early fluky goal that went in on him. And that's right here what I was wanting to talk about next. Jordan Binnington is the goalie for Canada. He was spotty. He let Sweden come back in that game and force overtime. He will likely need to be better against the U.S. if Canada is going to win. The U.S. has Hellebuyck, who's arguably the best goalie on planet Earth right now. And after he surrendered a goal on the second shot he faced in the first period, he was lights out for the rest of the game. So obviously Canada's going to test him more than Finland did, but that's a guy we trust. Connor Hellebuyck's a guy we trust. And if we look at the betting odds, the last thing I'm going to show you guys today, Today is February 15th, 2025, the biggest hockey game we've seen in a very long time. USA versus Canada. Look at the money line. It's a pick'em. It's minus 110 both ways. It is the most even matchup I have seen. These teams are loaded. The odds makers don't even know what to think. It's that close. It's that close. That's why you just have to tune in and appreciate what great hockey is, because that is what is about to happen in about 90 minutes. This is going to be one of the best games we could ever sit here and watch as hockey fans, and I'm just pumped up. I'm just excited about it. So thank you guys for bearing with me today. I'm losing my voice. Called a baseball game earlier today. Now I'm here trying to do a video for you guys, and I'm definitely losing my voice tonight watching this game. There's no doubt about that. Whatever I have left is going to be finished off within the next 2 hours. So thank you guys for sticking with me for this episode of Penguins Digest. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. It's been fun. I'm so excited. Mike Sullivan versus Sidney Crosby. Canada versus USA. Bad blood, but it's going to be fun. Thank you guys so much, and we'll see you on the next episode of Penguins Digest.